Well, hi, good morning. Thanks so much for joining me here. It's the first day of April. No kidding. And I've got a couple of new tubes to stick in this radio and see what kind of difference that makes. So one of these tubes I think is very, very rare. It's a ECLL 800, brand new in the box. The other one is a much more common 6AQ8, the FM tube. So I have the output tube and the FM tube. We looked at this output tube on an earlier video, and there were lots of signs of it being worn out. And plus, the output from the receiver is low. So, also the FM is not working very well, and the FM tube in here was very weak. I've tried a few alternative tubes, didn't really work out all that well. Could be the problem is not so much the tube, there may be more wrong in this radio. So, I think I'm going to play it as it is with the original tubes in it to sort of remind myself of what it sounds like. Then we're going to replace the output tube and see what happens, and replace the FM tube and see what happens then. Okay, that sounds like a great idea. Let me just plug the radio in. So if you're watching my videos as I post them, thank you very much for doing that. You'll know I've been working on a couple of car radios. I'm not done with them. There's still more to come with those, with one of the two car radios. Just so you know. Right now, the set is off. And let me just see if I can't move this whole thing a little bit there. Give you a view of the dim bulbs. This radio hasn't been on for about a week or so, 5 days. Expect these bulbs to go fairly bright at first. Here we go. I'm going to try the broadcast band, simply because that's the simplest. Is it the simplest? I don't know if it's the simplest band. It has a built-in antenna though, so it has an antenna. Here we go. Okay, dim bulb behavior is normal. On full power. Turn the volume up a little bit. Give it a moment to warm up here. Well, there's that. What's happening here? A little odd, eh? Kind of came up, went down, came up, went down. Well, look, I have to have full volume to hear this. This is interference on the broadcast band. The pointer is not attached to the string. Not working well at all. Okay, so that's what we got to do to hear that. Full volume. These tubes get very hot very fast. Here's the old tube. Well, just recently I've acquired some more tubes, and among those, well, most of them are really quite old, from the 1920s, and in that range I got a couple of really interesting ones. Here I have brand new ECLL 800, made in Germany, Philips tube. Okay. Volume's down. Tube goes in. I don't expect the set to receive any better, but I expect the volume to be much better. Okay, this will be the proof that this tube, which I cannot test, is completely worn out. Okay, ready to go again? Here we go. Volume down. Very odd. It doesn't seem stable. What's happening? Could be the push button. Could be a tube in a socket. Watch your ears now. Yeah, could be a tube. Let's put the old tube back in. So I have another radio almost identical to this one, and it had a lot of problems with cracked solder under the circuit board, which I think I've resolved on that radio. Here we go again for comparison. I wonder if this one's suffering the same problems here. When I wheel that tube, maybe I'm flexing the board underneath. Okay, comparison of volume. Right at the end of the. Let's see if I can pick something up. Is off. Where the pointer is, we're down near this end here. Did the volume drop just then? Okay, so memorize that volume level. Actually, I've got a volume meter in here. I can measure it. And a meter here, I try to watch my own voice on it. Quite a hum. Hum seemed to come when I was moving this tube. Okay. First division. I don't think it's making much difference putting this tube in. That's the impression I'm getting here. Hopefully nothing changed. much louder. Went from 1 division here to 5 divisions up on the meter. It's not going to help the reception any. Could simply be alignment is very bad in the radio. Wouldn't expect that, but it happens. There's that crazy noise that I have at my house. Doesn't want to pick up a single station. Okay, well, we got lots of volume to continue with. We'll switch it to FM now. Full volume on FM. And the antenna is plugged in. Let's get a better station. Where's the pointer? There is no pointer. Here's the pointer. Over here, just put it where I want it. Should be another pointer down here, shouldn't there? That's right, the other pointer. I remember now. The other pointer's in bad shape too. Looking for the strongest signal I can find here. That's full volume setting. Power off. Pull this tube out. Now I believe this is an alternative. Let's take a look. I can't remember what I left on it. This is a 6BZ7, 6BQ7, same tube. And this is the more appropriate tube. This tube, the ECC85, has a higher gain apparently, and maybe that's part of it. This is not a brand new tube. Oh yeah, look like dust, but it's not. Okay, in you go. Now I haven't tested this tube because I think it's brand new. Okay, radio, take it away. Volume's at minimum.
$93.1 and it's $9.31.
Oh, I get it. Bro. You put pre-ed on there.
Yes.
It's called after.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too all fancy over there.
So these old radios, when tuning FM, you need to tune them absolutely precisely. A little bit off either way and they're distorted. Not like more modern radios with an automatic frequency control. So.
Out there right now, dusting a layer of flurries out there. And why do you need an April Fool's joke? We've had the last 2 years, and today's like today when it's snowing.
Not April.
Really? So, yeah, that looks like, though, it's not going to stick around, which is good news.
No, it's going to be a beautiful weekend. We'll start off tomorrow 7 and sunny, and then for Sunday, we've got sunshine, 6 degrees, back to work and school on Monday, sunny, 10. Gorgeous
Nice.
Start to the week. Nice.
Yeah, they're pretty excited because today it's snowing. It's about 0 degrees. Winter has dragged on, just like COVID. Just like COVID has dragged on. Well, what do we get? Full volume. What do we figure out from that? Surprisingly enough, this output, the old output tube, has got some juice left in it. But we do get more volume using the proper tube. Seemed to me the AM radio wasn't quite as loud as it should be. This should be blaring. You're turning this up very high. A radio should be blaringly loud, uncomfortably loud, I would think. FM tube, putting in the proper tube made a difference. I'll have to test that tube to be sure it's good. But it made a difference. The signal still sounds a little weak in the front end. Excuse me. All these problems could be related to any one of a number of things. One of them is alignment. A radio like this typically doesn't go far out of alignment unless somebody's done something to it. So that's a bit of a long shot, but it's something that has to be eliminated as one of the possible causes. There appears to be low volume on the AM band and the FM band. That implicates the later stages in the radio being weak. I haven't done any capacitor changes. Capacitors that are in them, I believe, are fairly reliable type. Excuse me. But I don't know that for sure. Someone else has excuse me, previously changed this capacitor. That's the FM capacitor. I've changed a couple of cracked ones, one here and one behind this tube. Actually, it's right up against the tube there. But that's all that's been done, as far as I know, as far as I'm aware. So, a little bit of a mystery. I was hoping the radio would really come to life, with, especially with the new output tube. Okay, I have to go to the grocery store now and pick up groceries. Well, I'd say this isn't really all that good here. My strategy has gone right into the dumper. Now I have another radio just like this. And that radio has a weak FM and low volume output on FM, as I remember it. I'm getting things mixed up a little bit here. My hope was that this radio would come to life fairly easily, and then I could use this radio as a comparative model to compare things to the other radio, localize the problem, maybe pinpoint it, and repair the other radio. But what I've really ended up with is two nearly identical radios, both misbehaving in very similar ways. Very weak FM, and yeah. So my original strategy is just not going to work. I can't use this radio to help me sort out the other one. So I think I need to investigate this a little bit and try to localize where the issue is with it. And unfortunately, it could be multiple issues. Who knows? There's no way to know. It does seem to be that pushing on some parts seemed to upset it a little bit. Although I looked for cracked traces and cracked solder underneath, I didn't find it. The first radio. It took me a couple runs actually to get rid of all the bad soldering that was in it. This one seems different, but on the other radio, getting rid of the bad soldering stopped the intermittent type problems, but didn't solve the rest of it. On the other radio, I fiddled with the FM alignment a little bit, trying to get an idea whether that's part of the picture or not, and it didn't get me anywhere. This one, because of the volume output is low, and when I put on the AM too, and when I put my fingers near the AM antenna, a lot more volume comes out. Kind of makes me think it could be an alignment issue, but it's just a guess. The thing about alignment is it has to be done sooner or later, and even with the radio in a bit of a weak state, I can do some of it anyway. What a situation. Some of the FM circuits are independent of the rest of the radio. Some of the circuits are shared. Much of the radio is shared by AM and FM signals. For instance, the AM and FM signals are certainly passing through this tube as an amplifier, passing through this tube as a detector, but different parts of this tube. This is a 3-part tube. So I think one part is used for the AM shortwave. The other part is used for the detector and the FM side of it. If with the new tube here, No reason to think there's problems with the audio side of things. Weak output has to be from here back. I've localized it. It's somewhere in here. Could do tube swapping and fool around, but I seem to remember testing these tubes and saying to myself, most of them were quite strong, except for the output and the output and the input tubes. This tube has no bearing on the AM radio side of things. AM radio is a little bit easier to work on, a little less parts involved. Alignment's a little more straightforward. Perhaps I should focus on the AM side of the radio. Go through the alignment process as best I can, as I've done with the other radio. If I remember right, the other radio is pretty good on AM now. It's just FM. Just FM. The output of the FM tuner is easily available right on these terminals up here. It's possible for me to sort of sample this a little bit and see if it's on the money or terrible. But that would be a qualitative test. I couldn't be sure afterwards. The test itself, I'd be using my SDR radio. The test itself is kind of, I don't want to say unusual, a little bit unusual. Don't have any experience with doing lots of that to lots of these radios. But I would think if the signal here is strong, I should be able to pick it up with the SDR radio and hear it very clearly. Not the way we were hearing it. Okay, so that's the that's the state of affairs here. So I'm going to stop for a while, I drink some more coffee, and come up with some strategy for going forward with this radio on either FM or AM. I shall ponder that. And I really got myself into a jackpot here. Let's turn this radio on, get it warming up. So I have 3 German radios here right now to do. As I've mumbled about, 2 of them are almost identical, this one and another one. Third one is different but similar. Had a guy call me up about 3 or 4 days ago and say, "Oh, I'm so glad I found somebody who can fix my radios. I've got 4 German radios." And I told him no, I wouldn't do it. And I think that might be my standard answer from now on. When someone has a radio of this sort, I'm just going to say no. Because I'm in really deep on this. I haven't even started. You know, the risk here is you just can't nail down what the problem is. You start thinking it's small components. You start replacing many small components. There's a lot in here. Each time you do one, you run the risk of introducing another problem of some sort. And ultimately you could replace a pile of small components and the radio's still not working because you've missed it. You've missed whatever it is. Even thinking about how to test this, feeding in signals to hear what comes out of the speaker and stuff like that. I don't have enough experience or enough knowledge to know what level of signal I should inject in the radio to get a certain response out of the speaker. So, you know, turn up the input high enough and you're going to get a lovely thing coming out of the speaker potentially. And it may mean nothing. Very frustrating, very frustrating. So what I've decided to do is, wow, okay, B+. Let's check and see if the B+ is correct in here. It's bound to be okay because, I think it's going to be okay because the Magic Eye is operating. It operates on a pretty low B+. So I'm going to pick it up off the output tube here. And that's pin number 3. And these pins are actually accessible from the top. They're exposed on the top of the board, which is a little unusual. So I should be able to pick it off with my voltmeter. The voltage I'm looking for, let me just double check and make sure I've got the right schematic. I spent some time looking at the wrong schematic because this is called the Turandot. Well, so are 20 other radios called the Turandot. And they're not that similar at all. So I have managed to find the correct schematic. This is the V14 chassis. Okay. Pin number 3 is a plate on the big output tube. And that plate is supposed to have 250 volts on it. Okay, so I have my meter over here. It's on the 500 volt scale, so 250 is straight up. So I should touch this straight up, test over. Pin number 3 is accessible. I'm going to have to do it this way. Try to keep my arm blocking the meter. Here we go. Straight up. So, easy thing. No, not an easy thing. Easy thing would be a very low B+. You could track it down through the power supply. You can assume, it's an assumption, but the B+ is good all the way through the radio, but that is quite an assumption. That's too much of an assumption. So I'm going to move to the next tube back. You know what? There's 3 plates. There's 3 plates in this tube. There's another plate on pin 1. That's supposed to have, am I reading this right? 34 volts on it. I think that's right. 34 volts. Pin number 1 is easy to get to. It's right here. $35. So it's right on the money, which is good, but bad. Let's just keep going back. We'll look at the detector tube next. Unfortunately, the schematic is written in German, but numbers are numbers. Did they write the plate voltage on it? They really haven't. There's no voltage written on here. Darn it. Well, we can read it, but what's it going to tell me? If it's a 0, it'll tell me something. It's not going to be a 0, though. That's pin number 9 on this tube. Okay, pin number 9 is accessible. Put this back up here just in case. So I think I'm expecting it to be a low voltage. Well, you can hear that. Of course, yeah, it's low. Looks like about 60 volts. It's about 55 volts. And there's no reference for it. Not helping a lot. But that's typical. I think that's typical. And go back another tube. They're not showing me a plate voltage. Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Oh, they did show it. I did find it. The plate voltage for this is just written in a note with a long line and an arrow. 45 volts, so we got that. Next one back is 206 volts. Pin number 7. EF89. That's this tube. Pin number 7. Wow. How am I going to figure that out? Okay, so luckily the shape of the socket shows where the key is, or where the missing. Oh boy, it's right in a tough spot to get at. I can ground on anything here. 200 volts. Have I got this set right? 150. Okay. So 200 volts is going to be about here on this meter. Am I counting this right? 1, 2, and 3. This is where a big bang comes out of the radio and I jump. There we are. So that's 240, and it's supposed to be 206. So it's high. Okay, but it's there. We'll go back one more tube. That tube is on a different schematic page. ECH81. It's got 2 plates. One is at 120 volts, and the other one is at 200 volts. So pin 8 should have 120 volts. Right, pin 8. Pin 8. Oh, it's easily accessible. Pin 8. 120 volts. So this is a 150 volt scale, so 120 is going to land the meter up in this area here. Was it close to lunch? That's my stomach growling. There it is, right in the right spot. Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, okay, so that's basically the 3 key tubes that would operate the AM radio side of this. Oh, what am I hunting for? There's lots of volume. So I think this is from an overload on my lamps here in my shop. Apparently not. I don't know where that's coming from. That's lots of volume. Why did I think the volume was low? Magic Eye's doing good. This is fine. This is working fine. It's just not picking up stations. What's going on? I'm chasing my tail. Okay, let's just flip over to FM here. That's mighty quiet. There's a remote chance the FM antenna is positioned just in a sour way for picking this up. It's very remote. Chance. Let's fool around with the antenna a bit, see if anything happens. Okay, I'm going to end up getting a copyright hit even from that. Try and tip this here a little bit. How far can you go? What happened? Keep fading in and out. I thought it was a little stronger there a moment ago. The shop is a bad place. Should never bring a radio in this shop. Well, that's a little odd. Okay, let's try this one. It's full volume there. This is not responding at all. Well, perhaps it is an alignment issue. And that's all. So the proof of that would be trying to pick up the 10.7 here using my SDR radio, and yeah, let's try that. I'm going to try that, and if it's coming in clear, then the problem has to be further in the radio. If it's coming in just as snowy as it is here, then the problem is up there. Let's try that. I don't know.
De ce matin, il s'attend à venir nous voir un jour.
Okay, that's full volume on here. What I've done is I have my SDR radio operating, which we're going to look at in a moment. It made this ridiculous connection here while I was fooling around, but this is where I've left it right now. So I've got my SDR radio tuned to 10.7. That's the signal that comes out of the tuner here. An FM signal centered on 10.7. Heads for the IF down here. So we can hear what this radio is producing.
Mathieu Goyer. Merci beaucoup, Mathieu. Au revoir. Puis les autochtones du Canada.
Interesting enough, I found a French station. I didn't realize there was one, but then I'm not hunting around the FM bands much. This is loosely coupled here. So now we'll flip. I'll put the SDR radio up on the screen here. Okay, so what we're still listening to is the radio itself. You can see I've got the SDR tuned to 10.670. So 10.7 over there. Now let me tune the radio so that it's right on the 10.7 mark on the SDR. And you can hear it got a little fadey in the radio. I'm going to turn the volume down on the radio. We're going to listen to the SDR now. Well, how effective is this? That's a good question. To make a more direct connection between the SDR antenna and the output here on the far side of this capacitor. So I'm going to do that. Okay, you know what? We have to play the radio while I'm doing this. Here we go. It's gone silent. Not surprising. My SDR radio is basically loading down this high impedance circuit. But we still see it on the SDR. Now what's all this going to mean? I don't know. Let's turn up the volume here. Okay, I'm going to tune the other radio. What did that mean? Well, surprisingly enough, even with this connected, even with this connected and kind of interfering with the operation of the tuner a little bit, the tuner is putting out a 10.7 signal of some strength. We could hear it on the SDR. Certainly isn't powerful. I would think that the tuner should be putting out a signal strong enough to make my SDR sound clear as a whistle under this arrangement. SDR does not sound clear, the radio does not sound clear. We could deduce from that, deduce, whatever it is, figure out, take a guess, the output here is weak. Why would the output be weak? Well, maybe the tube I put in is weak. I just acquired it, but maybe it's weak. I gotta test that too before I go any further. It's all reasons for not working on these German radios. Okay, I'll get set up to do that tube testing now. Okay, here we go. I've had this set up. I've double checked it. Here we go. This is 2 triodes inside this one tube, so there's actually 2 tests for this tube. There's a chance this is an NOS tube, never been used. Let's see what happens here. No shorts. Now this tube, I gotta check on my European sheet here. This tube should come up 2580 or 4100 if new. So we'll put this on the 6000 scale, 25. So here is the reject point, right in here. Oh my gosh. Really? That's a little disappointing. Let's do the other half of it. 2103. 2103. I think it should come up, they're identical, so 2580 is what it should come up to. It's a little above. This tube's not gonna. Oh, I chuckle. I chuckle. I think I have another one. I have another one. 6AQ5. Now that looks brand new. That looks brand new. This one does not. Yeah, this looks brand new. Let's make sure it is what I think it is. ECC85 written right on it. So there's a really good chance this is the first time this tube has been heated up since it went in that box. Maybe 1965 as a guess. Maybe 35, maybe 55 years ago. Okay, any shorts in this thing to begin with? This should be flashing. This is not flashing. This is not good. The tube is not heating up. Okay, so watch the pilot light here. Yeah, it's just my bad. My bad. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see the pilot light going up and down. Ah. Jeepers creepers. I can't win. There, I think I have it. Yep, it's heated up. Okay, let's try again. This should flash quite brightly, really. Like that. That. Okay. So a brand new tube should be testing up around 4100, which is up around here. 6000. Look at that. Okay, let's try this tube in the radio. I'm not going to bother with the other half because I'm sure it's as new as it's ever going to be. Stick this guy in here. Watch this. This'll fix it. Because all I've been doing is cycling either weak ECC 85 tubes or okay tubes of another sort, like the BQ and the BH7s, but their gain is lower. Let's take this off here because this is going to interfere with the radio. Okay, I'm feeling pretty hopeful now. Put on the power. Incidentally, we're running the radio with about 115 volts, I think. Let's see. Maybe a touch lower. Okay, well it didn't come blaring out, did it? Come on, radio. Show me some stuff here. Okay, so it's a little louder, but it's not very happy. Well, it's a lot better. So we're going in the right direction. So I think I've eliminated, finally eliminated the tube. But this other tube I got, that's not very good. How disappointing is that? My gosh. Okay, so I think the next issue would be alignment on this radio. I have to go through the alignment process before I can claim it's not poorly aligned, and that's why its behavior is off. Oh my gosh. Okay, I gotta, it's getting late in the afternoon. Not late, but it's getting into the afternoon here. I may very well stop right now, and because it's kind of a big deal to get this all set up and ready to go, and I think that's what's going to happen. What a situation. What a situation. Okay, so if I'm stopping now, thanks so much for watching, and I will keep pressing on with this stuff.
American flight, somebody give me a flight number. American 1529 here. Please call me now on 89er18. Call me now 89er18. The other flight calling here. What was your flight? Your call sign? 946. Let's have your call sign.